Hello, everybody. It's been so long. I can't believe I still know how to do this. Good evening. My name is John. For those of you who have joined us recently at the Thriving Urology Practice Facebook group, my name is John Lin. I'm a urologist here in Gilbert, Arizona. Also, your host of the Thriving Urology Practice Facebook group, where we crowdsource practice management solutions for everyone's benefit. So I'm here actually in the office very late at night. I'm upgrading some PCs from our old operating system to the current Windows 10 Pro edition. And this is one of the things that I enjoy doing, and it's a good relief for me. And aside from urology, this is something I enjoy tinkering around with. I just built a computer with my son, and it's something that I enjoy doing. So, a lot of you guys were saying, or maybe thinking, that's just such a waste of time and waste of talent. But it's a release. It's a relief for me to work on these computers and to tune them to my exact specifications. And especially looking at the age of these computers, it's neat to see how they are working so perfectly and how the initial investment was totally worthwhile. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about my computers. And for those of you who are watching live, let me know from where you're watching. And I'm going to talk about Urology Times. It's one of these magazines that come in the mail, I think, every month or so. And this is the June 2020 edition, and it's talking about pandemic exacts economic toll. And I don't know if you saw it earlier or saw it in your mail. Let me see. There we go. Did that work? No. There. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. I'm a little rusty because I haven't done this in a while. Anyway, Urology Times, June 2020, pandemic exacts economic toll. And it's interesting to see that pandemic's financial impact down here on the right-hand side. Physician practices experiencing a negative financial impact from COVID-19, 97%. I want to know the 3% that did not have a negative impact. I can't think of a specialty that wouldn't have a negative impact. So anyway, if you know the 3% that did not suffer a negative financial impact from COVID-19, please let me know. All right. And the average decrease in practices revenue since start of pandemic, 55%, and decline in urology visits from early March to early April, 63%. And urologies rank among specialties in decline in visits during the pandemic. We rank 5th. We tied 5th place with another specialty. So in the article, it talks about several things. I want to just highlight 3 different things that I read. One of them is something that was mentioned by I think Dr. Harris. Let me turn to the page for you guys. There we go. It's I believe 25. Switch on over here. There we go. It says right here, Medicare's revenue tends to lag about 2 months after practices bill for services. Now, there's an interesting metric that you can use in your practice. If you dig into the practice management software, there's an interesting measurement that you can make. It's called gross charges days in AR, meaning bottom line is, how long does it take for you to, between the time you provide a service until you are paid in full, until you are made whole. And according to this particular citation by Dr. Han, says that the revenue cycle tends to lag about 2 months after the practices bill for the services. In my opinion, that is pretty bad. 60 days gross charges days in AR is pretty bad. I am an exception. My practice, we are at around always less than 20 days, typically around 15 to 16 days gross charges days in AR. Now, don't use me as a benchmark because I am kind of an outlier in so many different ways, but our gross charges days in AR is extremely short. So that is interesting to hear another practice, and typically these are large groups because these articles tend to favor large urology groups and not so much the little guys like me. But it's interesting to see from a different perspective how other practices are being run and what their metrics are. And that's why I kind of pay attention to MGMA, Medical Group Management Association's metrics, and looking at how typically these large practices are doing, and I compare that with how I'm performing. So it's kind of like the good old adage of whose penis is bigger, right? But this is just another vanity metric that we can use to compare ourselves relative to how another practice or a group of practice, how another group of practice is doing when you look at the MGMA data. All right, the second thing that this article mentioned is that COVID-19 is going to influence how we take care of patients. And one of the things that I mentioned was that we probably don't want to keep our patients waiting too long, especially in light of COVID-19. Well, in my practice, waiting, I mean, that's pretty much my brand, timely urologic care. Waiting is a sin. It's horrible. And I've repeated this multiple times. There are two things, there's only one thing really in life that you can't buy with money. I can have all the money in the world, but there's one thing I can't buy, and that's time. So I respect my patient's time. I respect my staff's time. And my staff knows that the only thing that stresses me out is when my patients are waiting to see me. When they have to wait, that stresses me out. So I try to run on time. And this article is saying that, well, now with COVID-19, patients don't want to be waiting in the reception area for too long because they want to decrease exposure. Our practice should be working towards reaching that goal. Well, that's been pretty much the norm for my practice. And I encourage you to make that a goal in your practice so that your patients are not waiting for the urologist. If you look at online reviews, it's typically talking about money and waiting. And thirdly, it's probably poor communication, never getting back to the patients. If you look at the negative reviews from your practice, from your fellow urologists in your local area, it's always going to be these three things. So if there's something you can do to decrease the patient's wait time in your office, typically that boils down to your workflow, somebody actually taking the time to figure out how to optimally run your practice. And also, of course, the provider, the physician, the APPs have to be fully aware of the time. Definitely leverage how your EHR keeps track of who's waiting, who's in the queue, right? Who's checked in, who's already been roomed, and the patient in front of you. That's the way I see things. When I am seeing patients, I see, okay, there's one patient that is already roomed waiting to see me, and then I know how many people who have checked in. I'm constantly looking at that queue and making sure that we are running on time. My staff is phenomenal. They will make sure that the patients are seen and brought back ASAP so that they're not waiting. So anyway, waiting is bad pre and post-COVID in the new normal, if you will. Lastly, the article mentioned that, oh my gosh, our urology practices, we need to be running a leaner and meaner practice, meaning we should be looking at the overhead and everything like that post-COVID. Well, this is something that should have been done before COVID, right? We all should be running lean and mean all the time. This tells me that some practices are running a little fat. There's always something to be trimmed. And unless you're running lean and mean all the time, you would not be making a statement like this. For us, we, pre-COVID and post-COVID, there hasn't really been too much difference other than the full implementation of telemedicine. So before and after COVID, when it comes to running lean and mean, there's really no difference in my opinion for my practice. So that is something to always keep in mind. And I've said this numerous times in previous videos. You always have to be running a SWOT analysis. Those of you who are MBAs know what I'm talking about. You're constantly looking at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What are things that are gonna put you out of business? Those are threats. Opportunities are things like, well, should I be looking into UroCuff? Should I be looking at remote Uroflow? What is it called? I can't remember. Anyway, I did a video on it. The remote monitoring or Uroflow. And should you be doing minimally invasive procedures like Resume, like Urolift, and things like that? So those are your opportunities, and weaknesses weaknesses such as waiting too long, or your online reviews, weaknesses such as you're not running a lean and mean practice, right? And your strengths. For instance, what is your group good at doing, and what are the individuals good at doing? So you want to make sure that you leverage, or frankly, I'm just going to call it like it is. You want to exploit your talents and make sure everybody knows about it. So SWOT analysis, always, 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 in good times and bad times, and also after the bad times, like post-COVID-19. So those are my thoughts when it comes to the cover article of the June 2020 Urology Times. Let me know what you think. If you have any insights regarding COVID-19, I'm sorry it's taken so long for me to get back on camera and to share some thoughts. Believe me, my thoughts are constantly going in what I can share, what I want to share with you. But since post-COVID, well, not we're still in COVID, I guess. Anyway, since the initial first wave, I have fully implemented telemedicine, and I am fully leveraging that opportunity by taking care of these not COVID-19, but taking care of these telemedicine visits at the end of clinic, meaning I'm batching them together. So if you can, that's in my opinion, that's the most efficient way of taking care of these telemedicine patients. Hey, those of you who are watching live, let me know from where you're watching. Leave them in the comments below. And if you have any thoughts about what I'm saying, please let me know. Anyway, I am batching these these telemedicine visits at the end of the day. So I'm pretty much running from 8 until 6 p.m. and I'm seeing record number of patients. I want to know what you are doing. Are you back to 100% normal? Are you above 100% pre-COVID, relative to pre-COVID? Let me know, because I'm really, really curious. I am definitely way above 100% pre-COVID because of telemedicine that my staff and I have batched at the end of the clinic. Let me know how you're seeing your telemedicine visits. Let me know how your practice is doing relative to pre-COVID. I guess it'll be pre-March. I guess that will be the time frame. So let me know how you are doing in the comments, and if you have any thoughts about other things that I should cover, please let me know. If you have any thoughts about guests that I should bring on the group, please also let me know. Very lastly, make sure you sign up for the American Urologic Association's practice management, the coding and reimbursement update first virtual seminar that is coming up in the middle of July, I believe, until tomorrow or maybe the day after. They're running a special, and I sign up during this weekend while they're running the special. So I will definitely be watching the updates from that program. For the physicians and APPs, you will get CMEs, and for the coders and billers, you will get CEs from attending this program. There's a Friday and a Saturday program. I'm attending just the Saturday program because Friday, I believe they go through actual procedural coding scenarios. Anyway, sign up. Don't miss out. It's if nothing else, you should be familiar with the upcoming 2021 E&M changes. And I've said this numerous times. You need to be ready. That's just, it's already July, 6 more months, and it's going to be full implementation. Familiarize yourself with it. Start thinking in terms of how is that going to change the way I see patients and deal with the problems that the patients are presenting. How is it going to change your E&M levels? Because it will drastically change a lot of our E&M levels, I guarantee you. So anyway, start looking into it. Don't miss out, and I will catch you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.